Okay, Jen, hello.
Hi, Fran and Pritt. How are you?
We are very well. You
Good,
are
good.
our very first guest on Downstream FM, and I'm so excited to hear your story. We both have absolutely no idea what it's about, and yeah, or any clue. So we're really excited to hear.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you both for inviting me on Downstream FM. I love the concept of your channel. I've watched some of the episodes. I feel like it's so inspiring, and I feel it's so important to share the
Yes.
things that go well in our lives,
Yes.
right? Because there's so much not so great things we hear in the news, but there's a lot of good out there. So I love that you're creating this space to share the good things that happen in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So when you invited me here, I've had a lot of different thoughts on what I could share and talk about, but I feel very guided to just go in this story, which is how I met my husband. And there's a few little components to this, but like anything with manifestation, it all makes sense in the end, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So, what happened? Well, a little background on me. So, in 2010, I had filed for divorce, and it was a very challenging situation. My son was young at the time. He was almost four. I mean, he was almost five when I had filed, so he was young at the time. And it was a very scary time. There was a lot of complications and a lot of challenges. I could not move out of the apartment because we had to have a separation agreement in place, and a custody situation in place. So it took 8 months, and there was a lot of challenges with that. It was a nightmare. And I went back to therapy, and my therapist had mentioned Kabbalah. And, it's Jewish mysticism. And I grew up Jewish, but became more of like spiritual and traditional instead of religious. And so I went and I decided to go find a book, and I found a book, and it was called The Way. And I started reading it, and it just helped me work on my energy. It helped me realize about my thoughts. And yeah, I had a lot of like intense things that, yeah, would upset somebody. And, but I needed to work on getting out of that victim mentality. And, instead of and change the energy and how I was reacting to the situation and all the different situations, and change my reactions to responding. So this was kind of like my first like tiptoe into more uh, awareness and spirituality. And so finally, I started working on some things, and all of a sudden, what took months and months and months as I was working on how I was showing up, we were able to sign an agreement, and I was able to move out. And so that's the first piece of that. So after 8 months of a very, putting it mildly, stressful situation, I move out into my own apartment. And my lawyer, I asked, can I, if I wanted to start dating, because it takes time for divorces to go through. And I just was trying to like live my life, not necessarily looking for a relationship, but I just figured, I just want to start just living my life, getting to reconnect with myself and just meet people and figure it out while this whole mess was incubating and working itself out. Because my lawyer had told me that, because it showed in our agreement that our intention was to get divorced, that, it was fine to just, move on. So I didn't expect to move on so quickly. So there's another part to this. So during the time where I was working on getting divorced and trying to get that separation agreement, I have a couple of much older sisters, and one of my sisters I have a very challenging relationship with. And something happened where she, without getting too much into it, was like, talking to my ex-husband and talking about me, and it got challenging. I'll just say that. Uh, so I was really upset with her, and I didn't want to like forgive her. I just stopped talking to her. She crossed a lot of lines. I was really upset. And as I was reading this Kabbalah book more, and I'm in my new apartment, one of the things they talked about was forgiveness. And I'm like, oh my God, I could never forgive her. Right? But before, actually, sorry, I have to backtrack. Before I get into this part of the story, when I had first moved out, I was on, Meetup. You have Meetup, right? So they have groups where you can find local groups in your area online. And so I was on Meetup for like at the time I was living in New York City. Now I live outside of New York City, but at the time I was living in Brooklyn, and I was in this New York City divorce group Meetup. But the thing is with Meetup, your picture and your profile goes on all the different groups. And I saw my ex-husband was also in the divorce Meetup. So I was like, oh no. So I didn't have a picture up, and I didn't have like a normal profile.
Mhm.
And I had because I didn't want him to find me. This will be important in a moment. So um I find this when I first moved in, I saw this Jewish singles in Brooklyn group, and there's this guy that had a post on there. He has two kids around my son's age, and he had a normal profile and a picture up. And so I wrote to him, and he wrote me back, and then I wrote him again, and then I didn't hear back. And so I thought, okay, maybe he thought I was a weirdo because I didn't have a normal profile. So back to the forgiveness piece. So that happened like early on, I think like December of 2010, or maybe it was probably January of 2010. Like, yeah, no, it was definitely December. It was like December. So I, and then, going through this trying to forgive thing, this is like January now, and reading about forgiveness. And I realized like there was a meditation in the book, and I decided to light a candle and do it. My son and I was not with me. We had a schedule of visitation, so he was with me sometimes and he was with my ex-husband at times. So I had some time to myself to connect. And so I went into this meditation asking for guidance, and I got it. And the other part to is too, sorry, it's like as you start sharing a story, you start thinking, oh wait, there's
It's so
more.
good.
But
No.
wait, there's more. Before I did this meditation, I had two dreams with my mother. My mother had passed away in 2007 from a heart attack. And sometimes she would show up in dreams where I know it wasn't a dream. It was communication.
Mm.
And she showed up in two vivid dreams in a row. This is when I was like struggling with you know, I can't forgive my sister thoughts. And I had two very intense dreams where I knew my mother was telling me I needed to forgive my sister.
Mm.
And it wasn't, and I was starting to understand more about what forgiveness is. It's not telling the person that, or saying that what they did was necessarily okay. You can still hold someone accountable for something. And I feel like, and that's something I've learned to do more so, is there's a different energy around accountability versus I'm going to make you pay for what you did to
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Right? So that's something that I've learned through all my various life experiences is when you do things from an energy of accountability versus an energy of I'm going to make you pay, things will change.
Mm.
And that's been my experience through dealing with my hardships in life.
Mhm.
So I had these dreams, and I knew that I had to go back to that chapter on forgiveness and actually do the work. So I did this meditation and I asked for help, and I got this kind of like vision or just thought that just came to me of just getting some kind of a card from the drugstore, like a thinking of you card, and just write a note and send it. So I did. I went to the drugstore the next day and I wrote a note to my sister. She lives in another city. So I wrote her a note saying, thinking of you. I hope all is well. And at this point, I hadn't spoken to her in probably like 6 months.
Mhm.
You know, I hope all is well. You know, if you want to have a relationship with me, we just can't talk about my divorce. And I said, and I think I said something, and I remember adding something along the lines of, whatever you decide, I wish you all the best, and sent it.
Let it go. Yeah.
Yeah, sent it and let it go. So then what happens? I decide to join JDate around that time. It's like a jewishmatch.com. And I joined JDate. And this time I had a regular profile picture and a regular profile.
You weren't weird anymore.
I
Okay.
wasn't weird anymore. I was still weird, but I didn't
Not
look
in that
weird.
sense.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens the next day? I get a message from the guy from the meetup group. He had the
Hey.
same profile picture, and I knew it was him. And I'm like, hey, you never wrote me back. And I told him, he's like, oh, I remember you. And that's so weird. We're like bumping into each other on a completely different platform.
Mhm.
So we ended up talking on the phone that night. We had like a 3 hour conversation. Turns out he worked like 2 blocks away from me in Manhattan.
Wow.
Wow.
By New
Okay.
York standards, that's
That
really
Yeah, he was like 2 or 3 blocks away. I think it might have been like 3 blocks. It was, lunch break visit distance.
yes.
Um, and so yeah, so we happened that weekend. We both weren't going to have our kids. So we decided to meet and we had a 9 hour first date. And we had such a great time. And we're like, is it too soon to like hang out the next day? But we're going to have our kids the following weekend. So we got to, so we had like another just long day together that next day. And that was in January of 2011. And we got married in February of 2015.
wow.
And
Love
we
it.
celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. And yeah, it's been a journey of, raising our kids together and having a blended family. There's definitely been a lot of growth with that. Um, and yeah, so that's my story about forgiveness.
Yes.
Oh,
And
so good. Yeah.
and about manifesting probably the love of your life, I would guess.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, look, sometimes we get our challenges and we're like, like, are you the love of my life, right? But yeah, definitely. Like I'm so grateful that we have found each other, and the times we have challenged each other, it was where we needed to help each other
Yes.
grow and evolve.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, so that was a manifestation story that I thought I would share.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
And if people want to know why your background is full of vegetables, then we're gonna link in the description more about you, like a little bio and your website and your podcast and all of these things. So thank you
Great.
so
Thank you.
much for sharing,
Yeah, thank
Jen.
you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
It was a pleasure.
Absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you. And thank you
Uh,
so much for your cool story, because that was a really cool story.
It really
Thank
was.
you.
Yeah, and
Thank you
deep,
for letting me share.
really deep
Yes.
message as well about forgiveness. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you very much and have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.